for not just the work related to young child survival and to feed the hungry child and to immunize or vaccinate the child who is not healthy in the rural parts of Africa, but UNICEF is also becoming known for its work with young people and for youth more generally.
But Mr. Karunan, I have 2 or 3 questions arising from what you have said. And they are points of difference. The first is, I note that you are very deeply interested in sexually transmitted diseases. Though, of course, as far as I know, life itself is sexually transmitted. And so we need to go a bit deeper into that. We need to go deeper into your interest in drugs and crime and trafficking. But the problem of youth is jobs, not of sex or of drugs. And they are not getting jobs. It is the highest rate of unemployment in the world is with young people. And the point that I was making was that young people are by far the most productive in any population structure. And when you say that youth needs to be guided, I don't agree. It's the older people who need to be guided by youth. Youth is by far the most productive people in the structure of the world. But somehow you keep them down. You tell them, oh, you are sick with sexually transmitted diseases, you are sick with trafficking, etc. And we need to guide you. I think you're the one who needs to be guided, not youth. Back to you.
There are a number of reasons why youth employment rates are on the increase, and a major problem in many countries of the world. Firstly, the type of educational systems that we have, the types of skills, competencies that are provided by our formal educational system are inadequate for young people to be productively employed in the labor market. Second, the fact that even in the labor market, the types of jobs that are available are not conducive to the interest and the type of abilities that young people today possess. With the tremendous strides that technology has taken, with the opportunities for young people to be able to develop their skills in creative ways and to productively use those abilities for livelihood and for employment, are not found attractive within the current labor market as it is. The options that therefore young people have are to go into the non-formal sector. So if you look at the non-formal sector, the service sector in many parts of the world is actually becoming bigger and bigger. There's less interest for young people to look for formal jobs within the labor market, but to look at opportunities of livelihood in the informal sector. Now, most labor laws of governments do not touch the informal sector. And I think that's where the problem is. That's something that governments need to address. Another reason for high rates of unemployment is also because you have the economies and the way that governments are shaping their economic growth contradicts the types of needs that people have in the communities and in that particular societies. Young people are not interested in the types of opportunities that are provided by formal employment agencies. So therefore, young people find it is not productive for them to be involved in any formal employment. Secondly, they're competing with others who have different types of skills and who are often found better entry into the labor market. So this is a major problem for governments are facing in many parts of the world. UNICEF is seriously looking at this to see how we can better gear our educational system to cater to the right skills and competencies that is required for productive employment.
Yes, but I still have a difference with you. And that is that the future of the world is not with traditional manufacturing. It is with Microsoft and Google and Facebook and Twitter. And all of them have been done by people in their 20s. And so you have to recognize that the future is with youth, not with you and me. Now, China understood this, which is why they came out with a plan 20 or 30 years ago of specializing in information technology. And that is why 96% of the world's rare earths, which is all technology-oriented minerals, are controlled by China in the world today, 96%. And so it seems to me that some countries have understood it, but we at the United Nations have not understood it. If you had understood it, more than 5% of the people in the United Nations staff would be below the age of 35, and they are not. And so tell me, why not? If you are so good, and if you have understood the problem, how can you not begin charity at home by convincing the United Nations to start employing more youth? Back to you, sir.
I think firstly that, yes, there is a contradiction between the traditional economies and requirements of keeping that traditional economies vis-a-vis the rapid development of technology, Facebook, and the opportunities that provides for governments to fast-track their economic growth. I think governments are trying to struggle with that. On the one hand, they need the traditional economies to produce their food, to exploit the natural resources in their countries. At the same time, they need to keep up with the rapid growth of Microsoft and internet and so on. So I think this is a dilemma for many governments. Rightly so. China, Malaysia are good examples of how governments realize that economic growth cannot just be achieved by economic reforms. You also need to have social reforms, and you need to invest in social capital. And one of the main components or ingredients of that social capital development was young people. So those countries invested very heavily in education and in bringing new technology much more integrally within the educational system and providing opportunities for young people there. And I think those countries have, that investment in young people and in human resources has now paid off. And I think other countries are now looking at the models like in China and Malaysia and so on to copy in their countries. Now, coming to the UN. The UN is made up of member states. Although the Charter of the United Nations says, we the people, in the UN, the representation of the people are member states and member governments. So what you said about the UN, that less than 5% of the staff are below 35 years of age, it's exactly the same situation with governments. In any country, you would find a small minority of government officials in important positions within governments below the age of 35. And that, I think, is a problem to face, is how can governments bring in much more young people and to exploit that capacity that there is among the youth in their countries to productively contribute to national development. Where are the opportunities for them to be able to exercise those capacities? How can government agencies and institutions transform themselves to be more attractive to adolescents and young people, to enter politics and to be able to contribute positively to national development? Those are the questions that I think we need to face. The UN will never change until national governments themselves change. And I think that is where the problem is, that you need to start from the bottom, build that confidence in the leadership, political leadership of countries, of youth and the potentials for their contribution to society.
I would at this stage like to render tribute, not just to you, but also to Bangalore, because I think Bangalore has understood the importance of youth and has even found the hole in the iron curtain of the American firewall. There's an American firewall which says that you can register your telephone number as a do not disturb number and nobody is supposed to telephone you. And I get hundreds of calls of people trying to sell American products like dish television and etc. and cable television. And when I ask them, where are you calling from? They say, we are calling from Bangalore. And so Bangalore has found the hole in the wall and in the firewall. So a tribute to you there, sir. We're going to open it up